Welcome everyone. Welcome to this beautiful, incredible, exciting moon ceremony, um, and the ceremony for the waning of Samhain and the full moon, the lunar eclipse. Lots going on today. And if you would type in the chat and tell us where you are in the world. And that would be really wonderful because it's really hard for me to keep up with who's here through the process and with the slideshow. So if you can type in the chat, I will be able to look back and see who was with me live. And then we'll have lots more coming who will watch the recording. So let me, let's see. Let me change my screen here for the recording and put it on me. I'm dressed in white, sort of, with some red touches and a red shawl because of the red blue blood moon today. And I have my goddess with me here. So we should have a wonderful time as we go through things today. I'm moving things around on my screen so I can get in just a minute. I will start the screen share. But first, let me just give you a little introduction and then we'll call the directions. The eclipse season presents us with a time of contrast between restlessness and acceleration, feelings of confusion, delay, blurriness, contrasted with lots of possibility. And the possibilities offer us acceleration and awakening. And then we're in Samhain, which represents endings and beginnings, death and rebirth of many different things. And then the moon represents our feelings and intuitions and our personal histories. So gather your materials if you haven't already, something like a favorite crystal, a moonstone. I'm wearing my moonstone. And the crystal that called to me today, I don't know if you've ever seen the crystal skulls, but this just jumped out and said, "Whoa, I have to be in the moon ceremony." So well, I'm not sure why, but he's with us or she's with us for today. You might want a candle and a container of water or any smudging materials. With smudging, you can burn herbs, or you can swish the fresh ones around if you don't want to have the smoke to cleanse your area. So today I am burning, I don't know if you can see it still burning, but I'm burning mugwort, which is connected to the divine feminine, and it can help us align with the full moon energetically, as well as guide us through all the moon phases. And mugwort is a really wonderful thing to put in a dream pillow. And I'm burning spearmint that can help us find clarity, especially with the eclipse energy, and lemon balm to help us feel calm when that intense energy is a little too much. And of course, sage, the ancient traditional herb for smudging. So I have been burning all those for about a half an hour here, cleansing the air around. And I invite you now to join me as I call the directions. If you want to stand or sit and turn the directions, or just simply stay where you are. And so I open in the center, calling in the divine light, calling in the Celtic Cailleach and the Egyptian Isis. Both are regarded as the mother of all, the mother of humanity, birthing us all into life. And we say thank you to the divine feminine for being here with us today. And I turn to the directions. I turn to the east where Newt and Tefnut join us. Tefnut sits on the mountaintop, waiting each morning for the sun to rise as her daughter, Newt, gives birth to the sun. Newt has traveled from the west, through the north, through the stars and the night, to give birth in the east, to illuminate our way, to illuminate our path on this journey today for the moon ceremony. And we say, come and thank you for joining us. And I turn to the south, where Bridget invites us to creativity and Hathor calls us to dance and to love and to laugh as we go through these challenging times with the intensity of the eclipse. Remember, they call us to remember to dance. Thank you. And I turn to the west, where the dark goddesses stand. We've gone through the winds of the east. We've gone through the fires of the south, and the west pours water upon us, the water associated with the moon, to wash away those ashes, to release the things that we need to let go on our journey to our spiritual direction. And we say, thank you, dark goddesses. Thank you for the night. Thank you for the moon. Thank you for guiding our way. And I turn to the north, where Caroline, the Celtic moon goddess, stands. She invites us to step up into the wisdom of the north. We learn knowledge from the west, but we have the opportunity to transmute it into wisdom consciousness with the energies of the north. So thank you. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Ma'at, for holding the scales of balance, for calling us to stand in harmony and in balance, for calling us to stand up as warriors of the heart. And we come full circle back to the center, saying thank you to the Milky Way, to all of the stars, to our planets, to our beautiful moon. And I reach downward to the earth, to our mother, who sustains us and gives us life to live on this earth for a time. And we say thank you. And we come to full center saying, Aho, Ashi, Amen, blessed be, Hamdulillah, and so it is. Welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today. This is wonderful to have all of you here to join me on this journey toward the moon. There's lots and lots to talk about today. We have the full moon in Taurus. We have the waning of Samhain. We have the lunar eclipse. And I'm excited to share with you some eclipse photos I took this morning. But let me tell you a little about what's happening with the planets in our solar system. It's a really amazing active time. So I'll go through this quickly, and unless you really are into astrology, you probably won't keep up, but I have a point in saying all this. So the moon right now is opposite Mercury. The full moon is in the constellation of Taurus. The moon is conjunct with Uranus. The moon is square to Saturn. The sun is conjunct to Mercury. The moon is opposite Venus. The moon is sextile to Neptune. Uranus at the perihelion, which is the closest point to the sun. Mercury is opposite Uranus. The moon is trine to Pluto. The lunar eclipse. Wow. That's 11 aspects of the celestial bodies in our solar system. Now, just in case you're wondering, is that much or not much? Yesterday, Monday, there were no aspects whatsoever that were indicated in the celestial bodies. And tomorrow, Wednesday, the November the 9th, there will be 4 aspects. You know, we're talking about 11 today. And Thursday, there will be only 2. You know, it goes on and on. So it is really, it's unusual to have this many happening at one time on one day. So let me tell you a little about the full moon. If you've been following my moon ceremonies, you know, this may be a repeat for you, or you may know the moon cycles, but you probably all know that the full moon is a time of culmination and manifestation. And the new moon is the symbol for conception. The full moon is the symbol for birth. And also in the moon cycles, we see the triple goddesses, the maiden, the mother, and the crone in these moon phases, the waning moon, the full moon, the waxing moon. And these cycles also represent birth, life, death, reminding us that everything in our world has a cycle, a beginning, a middle, an end, and a new beginning. So today, the full moon and the moon goddess is at her full power, and we can tap into that energy to help us manifest or gain insight into our problems and our issues and our joys. The full moon adds extra power to your intentions, and so this is a perfect time for doing rituals and a time for cleansing and charging any tools that you use, like cards or wands or crystals. Yeah, and today is Samhain. This is the solar date of Samhain. You may have thought Samhain was October 31st, or October the 25th was actually the lunar incoming of Samhain. So like the eclipse season, Samhain is also a season. But it's the gate, it's regarded as the gate of death, and also the gate of wisdom consciousness. So the triple goddess at Samhain moves into her crone stage. That's her wisdom years. It's the end of the Celtic year, the beginning of the Celtic New Year with Samhain. It's the end of the harvest season and the beginning of those cold, dark nights. In the Western world, however, we seem to crank up this time of the year. We start decorating and celebrating and buying for Halloween. In the US, there's Thanksgiving and there's Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year's and on and on. I mean, it's endless. It's endless. And so these holidays are often hard to navigate because we forget our connection to nature, and we forget to feed and nourish our soul. And so just a note, on Friday, if you're on my mailing list, you'll get an email about this, but I'm presenting a webinar on Friday that's the introduction to a course for the month of November called Opening to Joy, a course to help us nourish our soul as we maneuver this hectic holiday season. So today's eclipse and this October-November eclipse energy makes it even more important to focus on our inner growth. So let's look a little bit at the eclipse energy. Let me share my screen and let me back up one. This came from Wikipedia. This was a picture of that blood moon in May. Now, we won't have another blood moon for, I believe, 2 years, maybe 3 years. But we had one this morning. Wow. And so these are some pictures that I took this morning about, well, just before 6. The eclipse creates a blood moon with great intensity and transformative energy that can cause us to feel a little off balance or a little more irritable than usual, it's important today to rest, and the rest of the week to intentionally practice self-care. Use some grounding exercises, get plenty of rest. So earlier this morning, around 6 a.m. Eastern time, our amazing moon was at its peak of that total lunar eclipse with the full moon in Taurus. And let me jump through here to a couple of other pictures. I hope that all of you can see that. Here's another that I took this morning. These are a couple of others. It's very hard to get, because the moon is so far away, it's hard to get good shots. Some of these were taken with my regular camera, and these were taken with my cell phone. You can see the eclipse coming in and little bit of white there. This one is even further along in the morning. And this shot, I wanted you to see this one because I took this, I guess, with the camera because it's the black background. So here's the moon, but over here, I'm not sure if that's a planet. You know, you ever heard of orbs? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but it did show up in my pictures. So I wanted to share that one with you too. So the lunar eclipse is simply when the Earth gets in between the moon and the Earth. And so the red color comes in. Science tells us that it's because the Earth's atmosphere bends the sunlight and indirectly lights up the moon's surface that causes what we call the blood moon. Okay? And maybe that's what it is, or maybe that's Newt and Tefnut wanting to shake things up a little bit and remind us that we're constantly in a world of change, because Newt flies across the stars in the night, all the way through the night, and in the morning gives birth to the sun. So perhaps this morning she decided it would be a red moon. Ah, yes, whatever the cause of the eclipse, the transformative energy of that blood moon reminds us to be present in our lives and to be open to changes and to orient yourself to the changing energy of the moon and the earth. That doesn't mean to sit in a puddle making no decisions or being blown about like a leaf, but it does mean bending and harmonizing with the light of the divine. Several very intense planetary alignments can awaken us to addressing our spiritual path and even some of our deep-seated emotional wounds. So let's take a look at some of these planetary alignments. So there is our sun, and this is our solar system with all the planets lined up there. Right now, the sun is conjunct with Mercury and Venus. Mercury, if you think of Mercury as the mind and Venus the heart, Venus moves us to pay attention to relationships and security and possessions, our values. Meanwhile, Mercury is spiraling, spiraling nonstop thoughts and intensifying our emotions. And so their blended vibration can help us more easily release those mental and emotional things that are blocking or slowing our spiritual progress. They inspire us to connect with nature and engage in the intuitive process of observation. They inspire us to gravitate toward relationships that can help us achieve more self-knowledge and support our quest for meaning and purpose. But it's intense to do that. So there are ways of coping, things like writing in a journal, and channeling your feelings into your creative outlet, whatever that may be, or meditation. So what I'd like you to do right now, if you've got paper and pen with you, write down two or three things that you know that's slowing your progress. And if you don't have paper, just think about them in your mind and hold on to those two or three things, like, beating yourself up for, not exercising enough or not meditating enough, or on the opposite side, eating too much or playing too many games, and, whatever things there are that are slowing your progress. So let me be quiet for just a minute as you think about those things. Very often these things are not in and of themselves bad. The problem could easily be not what we're doing or not doing, but the energy that we put around ourselves for doing that behavior, guilting ourselves. So with this placement of Mercury and Venus, it is a wonderful time to set your intentions aside and release those self-limiting beliefs that keep you small, that keep you from fulfilling your total purpose. So go back to that list that's either on paper or in your mind, and let's do a little ritual to offer them to the full moon for release. So take a look at this picture of the full moon and then close your eyes. Take a deep breath and release. Now, hold up one of your issues. Touch your hand to the paper you just wrote or focus in your mind. Imagine the issue and the emotions connected to it. Imagine those rising up off the paper or rising up from your mind. They're floating or maybe racing toward the moon. And go to your second one and let it fly. And then take any things that you can recall that you need to release and send them on their way. And just raise your hands as if you're sending them off. Let the moon have them. Send them out. Let them float. Let them rise. Let them disappear. Oh, they may come creeping back, but you have the key now. When they come crawling back in to disturb your peace, your spiritual growth, send them on their way back to the moon. So, and there are some other things that you can do. Just breathe and come back with us here. If you have some water with you in a dish, or water essence, let me get my essence. I have a large bottle of essence, and I'm going to spray it right now into the atmosphere around me. If you have water, sprinkle it on yourself, anoint yourself, wet it, rub it. You can rub it across your forehead, rub it across your cheeks, hold it to your heart, and let the moon have all those things that are no longer helpful for you. Another thing you can do is take that paper that if you wrote these down on paper, or you can write them later, take that paper and put it in the illumination of the moon tonight. Let the moon have them. and even leave them out for several nights as the moon goes through the waning cycle. But let those things go. And remember when they come back, to send them back to the moon. And connect yourself with the water. The moon is of the water. So let's talk about some intense aspects of this lunation period. Saturn and the tense Uranus are the old battles up against the new, the past at odds with the future, complacency up against change. So the rebellious Uranus, the planet of change, brings us out of the blue, twists and turns. They're inevitable when this thing is in in the center of what's happening in the planets and in the energies. So with Uranus and Taurus, some of the highest energies that we can call in are living in harmony with nature, with our bodies and our human experience. Uranus can help awaken and surprise us. So there's a chance that this eclipse could bring some shocking news or might inspire you to take an action or make a decision that comes as a shock to those around you. So it's a time for shaking up a little bit and being open to the change. At the same time, Saturn is there, and Saturn's very active under this eclipse energy. Saturn is the planet of structure and sobriety and accountability. It's often called the planet of karma. Saturn is linked with the moon, and the eclipse can illuminate the things that we need to deal with from our past. If we're holding on rather than releasing those past events or our past stories, during this time we might feel overwhelmed or irritated or frustrated. But we're being called to let go so that we can transform and create space for more of what we truly value. So these intense energies from Saturn and Uranus combined with the moon and the intense eclipse energy call us to observation. They call us to witness things that maybe have already died and are still hanging on the vine, but we're still holding on. So the question is, are we holding on because we're afraid or because it's just familiar? The eclipse in Taurus invites you, implores you, calls you to identify these aspects of yourself that are ready to be released. So identify your dreams and your intentions that align with your soul purpose and begin to correct whatever imbalances there may be. Saturn can help you observe where you've gone too far in the opposite direction, where your ego has encouraged you to think like a self-centered diva. So take that Saturn-Uranus energy and work with it and move with it and transform with it. And let's talk about Jupiter and Venus. It's an important time to think about Jupiter. In the middle of all this that's going on, Venus and Jupiter, as I said, the altruistic deities or planets, are up there running around with Neptune and Pluto, who are underworld deities out on the edge of our solar system. So Venus and Jupiter bring light into the shadows to show us beyond our earthly physical vision. So pay attention during this week, especially to your dreams or your intuitions or your emotions. Don't let them just slide by. Notice them, because it may be an important awakening for you, or it may be something that really helps you move along. So there alongside Venus is Jupiter, and this is a really important time to pay attention to Jupiter, because Jupiter is about blessings and trusting your dreams and intuition. So Jupiter is about to launch a new 12-year cycle. There's our solar system again. Jupiter's orbit around the sun takes 12 years. 12 years. And this cycle is a very important cycle for happiness, abundance, and growth. So this 12-year cycle is just ready to launch, and that makes it a really good time to look at our growth from the past, and a great time to put new things into action. So look back at your life 12 years ago, or 24 years ago, or so on. That's like 2010, 1998, 1986, 1974. Keep going back 12 years and look to see what happened in those cycles. This last 12-year cycle for me was certainly life-changing. Very, very painful in the beginning of the cycle. My last husband died, but wow, it has been an awakening as well. So it's been a very difficult, traumatic time, a very wonderful, opening, joyous time as this has moved on through. So I'm very interested to look at the next 12-year cycle to see what happens here. But astrologers encourage us to align our efforts to the cycles of Jupiter. So this next 12-year period is the perfect time to expand a project or develop a new project, develop a dream, take a goal to the next level. This is an important cycle for happiness, abundance, and growth. Yes. And let's talk about this eclipse on the US election day in the sign of Taurus. Taurus, the bull, the stubborn bull. But we're in the middle of a Mars retrograde in Gemini, which is a sign of duality and choice. So the stars and the planets are asking, not just in the United States, but across the world, are we ready for positive social reform? Or do we need more negative social reform before we are really and truly ready to wake up? Though today is the US election day, it impacts, this energy impacts the collective consciousness of all people in all countries. So the stars are bringing us a question. And Mars in retrograde inspires us to question what we desire and why we desire it. Not just to have these wishes and dreams, but really look at why those are our wishes and dreams. And then look at how we act on our desires. So Mars in retrograde is a shift that slows down forward movement and promotes further reflection on our deeper motivations and intentions. So let's go into a little meditation to reflect on our intentions and ways to work with this intensity of the eclipse, the illumination of the full moon, and the waning of Samhain. So get yourselves comfortable for just a few minutes. We'll go into a little quiet time. And if you have a shawl, that's always a helpful thing to have as you go into a meditation, because sometimes you get cold, sometimes you get hot. So it's good to have something nearby. And just begin some slow, easy breathing, just at your own pace. Breath in and breath out. Beginning to let go of all those thoughts from earlier today. Anything that's racing through your mind, just let those go. And bring your hands fairly close together so your fingertips touch or are close to one another. And just wiggle each of those fingers, letting the chakras in your fingers open the chakras in your primary body system. And then spread your hands apart and open your arms and open your heart center. Let that heart chakra energy flow from in front of you, between your hands, toward your body and through your body. Listen to the lessons of Samhain and mirror the lessons of nature. As leaves fall to the ground and send our energy into our roots, turn within and prepare for the dark of winter coming on. Allow this eclipse energy to flow through you. Open your mind to the unexpected. Open your heart, to transmutation, to change. Right now, in your heart and your mind, stand in the light, the illumination of the full moon. Let that full moon illumination flow down around you, in you, through you. Let it flow from your head to your shoulders, flow around your arms, down around your trunk, down your legs. Let it flow to your floor, or if you're outside, let it flow into the earth. Let it flow across your floor. Let it penetrate the floor, penetrate your walls, penetrate your air. Let this full moon light give birth to your dreams and your wishes. So sit in this light, in the silence, for just a couple of minutes. Breathe into this illumination. And as we prepare to leave the meditation, let this illumination stay with you. Let it be your guide in the dark. Take another deep, slow breath in, breathing in the illumination. And then begin to blink your eyes, letting in a little light from the outside. Blink a little more and begin to open your eyes. And then wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, move your feet. Bring yourself back into this space. It's always a slow process to come out of meditation back into the physical world. And as we leave the meditation today, and in a few minutes leave our circle, remember today to expect the unexpected. Schedule extra time for any events or appointments. Rest. Give your system time to integrate these vibrational changes. And work through your emotions with grounding, like gardening, walking on the earth, touching the earth, or even touching plants and animals. And do some breath work or daily ritual activities and meditations. It will be hard to navigate this coming season if you don't shift a bigger part of your focus inward. So remember that this eclipse energy is with us for a while, and our next eclipse season is April and May, so we may have some flowing coming around to that point. So while you're still kind of in that soft and fuzzy meditative place, let me go back to the directions and thank the ancestors for being here. We thank those from the heavens above, from the planets and the stars and the moons. Thank you for coming and guiding us today. And to the north, we thank you, Carolyn, for bringing your Celtic energy in, and Ma'at bringing in the Egyptian energy. We thank you for calling us to stand up as warriors of the heart. We thank you for coming. Thank you for being here with us. And I turn to the dark goddesses of the West. We thank you for leading us into the water, for helping us remember that we are of the water and we are of the moon. Thank you for coming and guiding us. Thank you for being here today. And to the south, we thank you, Bridget, for reminding us to tap into our creativity. And we thank you, Hathor, for reminding us to dance. Leave if you must, but we know that you leave behind with us your love and your joy and your creativity. Thank you. And to the east, we say thank you to Tefnut and Nut, who bring us the morning sun. We thank you for the illumination of our journey through this moon ceremony. And I come back to center, thanking Mother Earth for holding us up in her arms. And again I say, Aho, Ashi, Amen. Blessed be, Hamdulillah, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Let me go back to the gallery view here and see if anyone would like to share anything about your journey or the meditation or things that you've released today. Unmute yourself if you would like to share something. Oh, silent today. I see Kathy moving about. Yes, go ahead, Kathy.
I had an interesting experience when you suggested anointing yourself with water, and I had a glass of water next to me, so I dipped my fingers in. I wiped my cheeks and my face and neck and throat, and my ceiling fan is on. So immediately I began feeling this evaporation of the water. And you were talking about releasing and feeling the moon draw out all
Yeah.
those things, and it was a physical experience of it. It was really incredible. My eyes were closed and I could just feel this lifting of this moisture coming off my body. So it was very nice. I'm going to remember that to do other times.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yes, I never thought about the overhead fan
Yeah.
moisture. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Peggy. I had a similar experience with the water. It was so fresh. It was like, wow. It's like it was cleansing. It was very cleansing. And yeah, I have a little candle too, and I smudged a little bit with rosemary, dried rosemary.
Uh-huh.
And but every the whole explanation about the planets and what's going on, it's helping me so much, because now I understand so many things. I feel that my life is spinning in 1,000 directions, and now I understand why. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very, very useful, and to not to lose your center, just be able to know it won't last forever. It's all
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Peggy, this is Elena.
Uh-huh.
Invisibly. I just have an astro question for you.
Uh-huh.
Aside from thanking you for a beautiful ceremony, which I put in the chat. When exactly did the eclipse begin today, and when did it end?
It started, I don't know that I have the exact minutes, but around 3 a.m. Eastern time, and was at full peak around 6 a.m. and went on until somewhere close to 9 a.m., 8 something. But essentially a 6-hour window from the very beginning to peak to the very ending on Eastern time. And of course, wherever you are in the world, the time is different and moved along the way.
So that's very interesting. I'm on Pacific time, right, on Salt Spring Island, because I woke up then just at the beginning of it around 1, and I was awake for the whole time. I just couldn't drop back to sleep. So that makes total sense to me now. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And that's not unusual. I mean, even with a full moon, sometimes if you're really connected to the moon, it's very hard to sleep during a full moon. And then you add the eclipse to it. Woo!
Good to know, because I heard it was an 1.5-hour window. But given that I was awake for the full 6 hours, what you're saying makes a lot more sense.
Let me see. Let me slide over to my paper here. See, I might even have written down the, yeah, 3:02 a.m. Eastern Time, with the max at 5:59 a.m., ending at 8:56 a.m. Yeah, that's pretty much
That was
3,
a long
6.
eclipse.
Yeah, yeah.
Okie dokie.
Anyone else want to share? Well, thank you. Let me stop recording.